Hopefully my clock don't mess up. All right, this is the Coast to Coast Combat Hour for UFC 254 Fight Week. Ed Carbajal, as always, here with Matthew Hawkins, ready to do our picks and predictions and quick look back at last week. Before we move forward, just FYI, folks that listen to the audio version of this podcast, I did an interview with Josh Palmer, who you guys might know from Cage Warriors and Polaris events. He does commentary for them. He's also doing commentary for Karate Combat. And I spoke with him about that today. So that audio will be attached to the end of this part of the podcast after we do our picks, if you guys want to listen to it on the audio version. So, Matt, more Fight Island stuff.
Yeah, no, big week. This is the week we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Seems like the fight's been announced for a decade now, and we're finally getting to it. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna break down that card a little bit later. And I see MMA Kings checking out the show this week.
Yeah.
Nolan King there, MMA junkie. Yeah, so big fight week. Actually had a fairly big weekend last week. I know you had your birthday celebration, so happy late birthday from me and the show here, and I'm sure our fans. So yeah, I mean, so I know you were out doing your. I think you were out doing the tequila thing, right? Most of Saturday.
Yes, I drank Tears of La Llorona, which means Tears of the Crying Lady. $240 bottle of tequila. Me and my old roommate. Shout out to Chris who bought it for me as a gift. Yeah, we emptied that thing well into the wee hours of the night. So
200. That's some quality tequila. That's not
yeah.
It's not the Jose Cuervo.
Yeah, no, he never does anything cheap. So it's nice to have friends like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nice. So it's cool you got to celebrate your birthday with friends, even under this chaotic nonsense of a time. But there was the UFC event on Saturday. Not going to break down the whole card. We didn't do it before, but really the two fights that have meaning and some weight as far as the divisions go. Jessica Andrade picked up a dominating TKO finish of Caitlin Chukagian in the co-main event, pretty much elevating Andrade back to a basically, she's constantly a top contender. So we'll see if she's far away from a fight with Shevchenko, but it certainly seems like that could be the case. Then there was the main. Yeah,
I caught just the highlights. I saw her body shot KO. I saw the highlights of the improved Brian Ortega 2.0 with his decision win from the main event, and also the Jimmy Cruz knockout was also one fight in note. But yeah, I mean it was I missed it, but I mean, looks like the highlights summed it up pretty good.
Yeah, it happens. Ortega looked great. We didn't do picks for the fight. I was leaning the Korean Zombie. I thought that actually he would do better on his feet. I thought that's where he would have the advantage. That turned out to be completely wrong. Like you said, 2.0 Ortega did his thing, landed a spinning back elbow that changed a lot of the momentum of the fight early. So Ortega picks up a big win, and he basically moves himself into title fight contention. Rumor is maybe him and Volkanovski in early 2021. That was the UFC card again, one we didn't really break down much. So it's still available on ESPN Plus for any fans that want to check those fights out. The fight that we were into over the weekend, the main one, Bellator 249, actually took place on Thursday night. And things tended to go a little bit my way as far as predictions go. At least in the main event, I should say, it didn't go very well for the rest of the fights. But Cyborg does her thing. Chris Cyborg defends her Bellator title. Submission win, first submission victory of her career, which is a pretty wild stat. But she got that done against Arlene Blenko, who came in, showed heart, did her thing, but just the ferociousness and the constant barrage of Cyborg is just, it's been too much for everybody she's ever fought, except for Amanda Nunes. So, uh, I think a lot of people thought Arlene would be able to do last longer, I should say. And I think it was just a matter of, again, too much ferocity and too much strength from Cyborg. I don't know if you have any
Yeah,
special takeaway on that fight.
I honestly didn't think that there was going to be a power advantage. Like because you watch them face off, you see them face off at weigh-ins and stuff like that, and it wasn't really noticeable then. But when the fight got going, that's when I was like, wait a second. There's definitely, I don't know if Cyborg got longer or the reach was there and I just didn't notice it, but there was definitely an advantage. Blenko, when she talked to me and other interviews she did leading up to the fight that week, she said she didn't want to really step on her back foot or give her any backpedaling, but it's like you have a plan, and she couldn't follow through because Cyborg is just still a force, in women's MMA, especially in that division. So, I mean, she's not really going anywhere. Yeah, I kind of thought it was weird that was her first submission win over for as long as she's been fighting, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, she's mostly, pounded people away, and I thought Blenko had a chance, but you never know. Like they say, you have a plan until you get punched in the face. I forget where that quote comes from, but hey, it was a valiant effort by Blenko. I'm sure we'll see her again. She's definitely not a quitter, handling the loss like a champ too. I know she went shopping and stuff and stuff like that. So as she's making her way back home to Australia, but strange times for a fight of that caliber, and they at least it wasn't like a first round knockout or anything like that. I'm glad she made it through the first round. So, they're talking about trying to do something with boxing now in Cyborg. I don't know if I'm really into that unless they do the Coker said if they do May Mac type of situation, Coker said that he's not going to back down on wanting them to return the favor. Like if she goes to boxing, we all know that she's probably not going to do well in boxing. But if they're going to come the other way, then move the brush, paint the brush the other way, and have the boxer feel some of taste the loss of an MMA loss too.
No, I think that's a good point and something Bellator could have more leverage on. Um, because even if that takes place in boxing, really the A side of that deal is going to be Cyborg. I think
Mm-hmm.
just because of the name, even if she fights a great female world champion, Cyborg's still going to be the A side, the name on that matchup where although McGregor was the name, it was that fight doesn't happen without with Mayweather. So
Mm-hmm.
UFC didn't really have the leverage to pull that off. But that's it'd be cool if that happened. I guess if we can get some kind of exchange. I'm not big on the jump into boxing. Unless you can show me that it's going to be against a foe that, is something where it becomes an event. I mean, the McGregor Mayweather fight was kind of a joke until we got to the fight, and then it was like, okay, well, at least it's going down. Let's see how it unfolds, and it was a big event. I don't really want to see Cyborg box anybody in an empty arena. I'm kind of over the whole empty arena look at this point, to be honest with you. I think it, I just think the atmosphere of a regular fight with crowds and stuff is what we need to have for some of these wild fights. I mean,
Yeah.
seeing Cyborg win the fight, climb the cage, and kind of yell at an empty arena just kind of doesn't do it for me. So I don't know. I feel like that's the one thing we're missing. For
Yeah,
these
I mean
fights.
it's sports. You need fans for sports. I mean, you can't digitize them and all this bullshit that we're seeing in baseball, and I think the WWE is doing that now. I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, oddly enough, I've fallen back into somewhat of a pro wrestling fan watching AEW. I know they have it on Wednesday nights, but I usually record it and watch it after. And they're in Florida, so they're limited capacity, and you can see and feel the difference and the reactions, especially with the people in the ring, and it's just that there's a chemistry about it. And I know many fighters have talked about it. We had Brandon Royval talking about it on this podcast not too long ago, how they know that it's just going to be a different feel when fans can return and they can fight for them. So I'm looking forward to it too. I mean, I would like to cover an event. I miss covering an event live. I mean, it's nice to zoom in once in a blue and get a couple of questions in, but again, like you said, man, I mean, I know you like to feel that energy in a different way, but it's technically the same energy whether you're there for work or you're there for fun.
Mhm.
It's the same energy and it's positive energy, and it's I think we all miss it.
Yeah, so we'll see what that happens in the future. There, things I think are trending at least in the direction of getting closer to having live events at events um, in some of these bigger states where the UFC would promote their events. So we'll see what happens. Also on that card, Leandro Higo moved to the main event when Patricky Pitbull was pulled for medical reasons prior to this fight. So Higo picks up the big win over Ricky Bandejas, finishes him in the second round via rear naked choke. I didn't see it happening like that. Higo super impressed me. I know he's always been a tough, durable dude, but I think we both picked Bandejas if I remember correctly, and he was outclassed from start to finish.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like you said, a strange night overall for that event. So nothing went as I don't want to say as planned, but as we picked. But I just feel like because that co-main event change happened like literally right before they went on air and
Hmm.
started. I think Nolan, who chimed in here, might have been one of the people that broke that news early, but because he's been at all of the events, he's for it's his full time job, so he can get there and do the coverage for MMA Junkie. And when he tweeted that out, I was just like, oof, doesn't look like a fun time. And then obviously, and then we had the poor Saad Awad. I swear to God that there's something in Mohegan Sun. I mean,
A magnet to the nutsack or something.
if you count like the number of ball shots that have ball shot no contest results from that arena, it might be a new curse or something like that. I'm like, oh my goodness! Like when I saw that happen, I'm like, they might as well call it ball shot arena at this
Yeah,
point for fights. So
yeah. It kind of gives a different meaning to fight sphere.
yeah, that's a good
But
one. Uh,
but yeah, no, I just
I'm tweeting that out on you, Bellator 250.
yeah. Let's keep it in the fight sphere and not in the.
That should be a thing on like all these betting apps, like FanDuel, DraftKings. Will someone get hit in the balls tonight? Like what are the odds? I mean, chances are,
Oh,
that's
we'd be rich as hell right now.
yeah.
I bet every fight there'd be a nut shot.
Especially if it's there. It's I can't believe it. Ever since the Sergey Karatanov thing, it seems like okay, one or two are guaranteed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd have to go back to even look. I mean, keep in mind Bellator's the event that had a dude axe kick a guy in the balls on the ground. I don't know if that was in Connecticut or not. It more likely was
Probably was.
probably in Oklahoma or something because it was earlier in the days. But yeah, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. But that sucks for Syed as he started the event off against Analo, and it was a fight we were looking forward to. Hopefully, it's one that gets rebooked. Syed on Twitter said that he didn't have any major issues from the shot. So
Yeah.
of course that's good. The other name on the card that jumped in, Steve Mowry, jumped up from the prelims, remains undefeated at 8-0 with another devastating knee knockout, or knee knockout to ground and pound, but the damage was done on the feet at the knee. So Mowry, 6'8" heavyweight, um,
Big dude.
continues his
Yeah.
undefeated run here and looks to be a force in that heavyweight division of Bellator. Someone to definitely be looking forward to. So that gets us through Bellator. That was their big event. Didn't probably pop off like they expected. Cyborg definitely did her thing, but when you have a fight drop out last minute and then you have a bet open with a groin shot fight cancellation, that slows things down. So we'll see how they rebound. Their next event is basically the Bellator fight of the decade with Musasi and Douglas Lima. So that will be one to look forward to. I believe that's on the 29th, Thursday the 29th. So
Yep.
we'll catch up with that one next week. That moves us now to the highlight of the week, the highlight of potentially the year, the fight we've been talking about really since Ferguson and Gagey took place, setting the stage for Habib Nurmagomedov to defend his lightweight title against Justin Gaethje on Fight Island this Saturday. Early time, main card pay-per-view starts at
2
2
p.m.
2
Eastern.
p.m. Eastern. Prelims start for me on the West Coast at 7:30 a.m. So it will be an early rise, and Red Bull vodka is probably about 7:35 on Saturday morning. So we'll see how that unfolds. But right now listed as a 6-fight main card.
Yeah. So
Um,
we got to do a lot of homework. Hopefully you got Tapology open as we do our UFC 254 fight picks, brought to you by All Access MMA, which I forgot to say in the beginning. Make sure you check out allaccessmma.com for your fight news.
so the prelims wrap up. We're not going to do picks, but interesting heavyweight fight just for fans listening. Stefan Struve versus Tai Tuivasa. That's the headlining prelim. Pretty cool heavyweight fight. A giant at 6'11". Struve takes on the more compact Tuivasa. So that'll bring us into the main card. When we finally get to the main card now, we are looking at the prelims are pretty loaded. The usual Sam
Yeah,
Alvey,
no, it's just
Cowboy
scrolling through
Oliveira.
them.
Um, so
Weird.
there's some stuff there. Obviously, them moving the 6-fight main card is going to do a little damage to the prelims, but in this case, we open up the main card with a fight that's already been scheduled twice. Actually, it happened
Oh,
once and then has been rescheduled twice, both times having to be rescheduled due to COVID positives tests. Megomed uh,
yeah. Ankalaev.
Ankalaev versus Ian Kutalaba. Um, the first fight, Ankalaev was awarded a TKO victory, even though Kutalaba was still on his feet. He seemed to be dazed. He was either dazed or he was really playing it off to the referee, which obviously didn't work in this case because the referee believed he was really injured. Um, I'm going to go with Ankalaev. I think Kutalaba is going to come out too fired up as he tends to kind of do. And
Mm.
I think he'll get caught again this time. I think he'll get put down. I think he gets finished. I think this is a first round fight. I don't think it leaves the first round. I think a lot of shots are going to be thrown, and I'll take Ankalaev by TKO / KO victory. 3.5 minutes into the fight.
Yeah. I'm wondering if so I mean, like we just noted how the this is imagery is brought to you by is from the UFC.com page, just for folks watching this. I'm wondering how accurate these numbers are as I look, but I mean, I think you and I have said in the past when we see a Magomed spelling in anyone's name, it's probably a bad idea to pick against them. So I think I something makes me feel like because of we noted the time how they're doing it like local time there. I guess that's their local time because most cards have been like at 3 a.m. local
Mm-hmm.
Abu Dhabi time. I just something inside of me wants to say that that's going to favor Kutaleba when they fight, but and I'm looking at their win ratios here, especially the I mean he seems to have more wins by KO, TKO. I just feel like that might favor him, but again, I don't know. I can't disagree with you either.
No, UFC does appear to have their records right for this fight. Ankalaev 13-1, Kutalaba 15-5 with a no contest. I think it's a close fight. I mean, I think that the first fight they had kind of shows that. I mean, it's going to be who catches who first. Um, I just think Ankalaev does it. I don't think there's a whole lot of research or real deep look into this fight. I think it's really going to be a kind of a rock'em sock'em robots round of fighting. I just see somebody finishing somebody in the first round, and
Mm.
I mean it's interesting. I would think that the local time would help the Russian
Magomed,
fighter
yeah,
more, just because he's more on his time zone.
yeah,
But
that's true too.
but again, I don't know I don't know where these guys are training or spending most of their time. Obviously, with COVID, I'd imagine most of them are in their home countries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So that could be interesting. But I think this could be a barn burner. I think it's a great fight to start the pay-per-view off. It's a fight that people have looked forward to, especially after the last couple cancellations when it got as high as a co-main event slot
Yeah,
on one of the events. The next fight, Lauren Murphy faces Lilia Shakirova, a newcomer to the UFC.
very new because they don't. They only have her silhouette and all zeros for her.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those strange fights that you see. I think this might be the kind of a COVID matchup, which is kind of strange because Murphy really is flirting with a title shot. She's now on a win streak
I was gonna
of three
say,
of three fights, including victories over KGB Lee and Roxanne Modafari. So she's really wiping out the competition at 125 pounds. I think a dominant win here could very well earn her the next title shot. Um, but it seems like it's almost a lose-lose fight when you're fighting somebody with such a little name value that the UFC can't even put her picture on the card.
yeah, it's odd that they're doing. It's a 6-fight made card, and that's who they matched her up with on this card placement. But hey, they know better than us, right? I mean, hard to pick against Lauren Murphy since we don't know much about Shakarova.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I think Lauren Murphy grinds out a win. She was originally scheduled to fight Cynthia Cavillo, which
that's right.
essentially would have been a number one contender fight. So
Hmm.
um, that's where I assume with a dom. I think where the Cavillo fight, I think any win for Murphy probably would have earned her a title shot. Whereas now, I think the downside of this fight is she actually has to put
Mm,
together something. I don't think she can just grind out a boring decision here and
yeah,
go, especially with
and of course, there's the risk of losing. The momentum she's got too.
yeah, and with Andrade moving up to 125, and finishing the former number one contender in Chukagian, that also throws a little monkey wrench in it because the UFC can always drop back to that. They got a highlight of a body shot KO, plus all of her history of dropping Rose on her head. Murphy doesn't really have those highlights or that promotable aspect yet that they can go, hey, now you're fighting Shevchenko. Um, so we'll see. I mean, she's got a long history, and she's done her thing through Invicta and now into the UFC. But I do think she wins. I just think that she's going to end up winning another decision that's probably not extremely memorable. Um, that's just the way I see it. I think she ends up just grinding away and picking up a win, whether it's sticking and moving or getting a couple takedowns and just wearing her opponent down for 3 rounds.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Like I said, it's hard not to pick her in this fight.
That brings us to the third fight of the main card. Another kind of a head scratcher for me. We talked about this prior to coming on the air. Phil Hawes makes his UFC debut. He did fight on the Ultimate Fighter in a qualifying match where he was unsuccessful, but he does come in with an 8-2 pro record, coming off a win on the Contender Series. He faces Jacob Malkoun. Um, and again, a 4-0 fighter, but no UFC experience. Just kind of a rare fight. I'm sure it happens now since we have so many cards, but I just can't remember many times a main card pay-per-view fight
Hmm.
uh, being involving two people that have never had a actual UFC fight. So that's kind of a weird thing to throw in. There must be something that one of us is just not aware of about these guys. I mean, obviously there's up and coming contenders and prospects all over the world now with all the combat that goes on. I'm just not super up to date on either of these guys,
Yeah,
considering where they've come from. Like you said, Haas fought in World Series of Fighting, so you're
yeah,
familiar with him from there.
yeah. So that's why I'm favoring him too, not just because his picture's on the website, but I've seen him fight, and I know he's definitely one of the guys that comes to bring it. He actually, we just mentioned, we were talking about it before we went on air, like you said, and he trains at Hard Knocks 365 with the likes of Steve Mowry and some of the folks that fight over at Bellator. So it's not like he's unfamiliar with the big show. And um I you said Malkoun is 4-0.
Yes.
Okay, because they have him as a 0. Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
But
yeah. Tapology has him listed as 4-0, fighting out of Australia. Um, couple TKO wins, couple decision wins.
Mm.
Also 2-0 as an amateur. So, um, he has not been defeated in a cage, which is always a positive thing, especially mentally for a lot of these guys. I just, with just looking at the resumes, it's hard not to go with Hawes based off just his experience alone.
Yeah.
Fighting at World Series of Fighting, fighting on the Contender Series, and fighting on the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. So far we're on the same page. It looks like with our picks for 254.
Yeah, so far pretty even. Now we jump into the top three. The top three fights now. I think we can all give a little bit more of a clear idea of how we see unfolding. The first of those three is a heavyweight clash between Alexander Volkov, coming off of a tough uh, ground out loss. He got beat up by Curtis Blades in his previous fight, but he survived. Actually, did some damage to Blades later in that fight.
Hmm.
After the fight happened, I actually mentioned that I thought his value it wasn't changed. If not, it had gone up because I think we always knew that he lacked the wrestling takedown defense. But I didn't think he would be able to avoid the ground and pound and the overall pressure of Blades. He actually did. He was able to get the fights back to his feet later in the rounds, later rounds in the fight, land some tough strikes. So he's that. Harris, on the other hand, coming off of a tough loss to Alistair Overeem, where he dominated for the first couple minutes of the fight, had Overeem basically out, as close to being out as you can be without physically being unconscious. But Overeem was able to rebound, catch his breath, and then use his overall MMA skills to defeat Harris around later. It's a fun heavyweight fight. Harris's story obviously has been something that has been talked about for the last what is it, year and a half roughly,
Hmm.
give or take a little now. The sad passing of his daughter. Um, Unfortunately, I mean, if I gotta go with Volkov. I don't see I don't see Volkov being KO'd early in a fight. I know that Lewis did it in the last 15 seconds of their fight. What was it, UFC? It was the McGregor Nurmagomedov card
Hmm.
a couple years ago. That was the last time Volkov got KO'd, and it was late in the fight when he kind of fell asleep. I just think he's too good of a mixed martial artist
Yeah.
to lose to Walt Harris, and that's not a knock on Walt Harris. I just think Harris is kind of a throwback stand up and bang dude, and I think Volkov will be able to survive that, land the more crisp shots, tire Harris out, and potentially could even finish him on the ground
Yeah.
if the opportunity comes.
Yeah. No, it's another one that I'm with you on. I mean, not only does Volkov have what looks like it's a height and reach advantage, but he's also got an experience advantage over
Hmm.
Harris too. That accounts for a lot. Um, so it's just, I mean, granted, Harris definitely has the ability to land a, as they say, a puncher's chance will change the tide of the fight for anybody. But no, I can't disagree with you there. So I think we're both on Volkov.
Yeah, I just think he's too well rounded at this point and too prime in his career right now. That brings us to the co-main event. Former middleweight champion Robert Whitaker faces Jared Cannonier, who's worked his way down from heavyweight over the years to eventually light heavyweight, now to middleweight, where he seems to really have found his groove. Uh, Whitaker coming off of his big win just fairly recently over Darren Till. Uh, in a fight that he dominated, although it went to decision. And Cannonier has been on a run of himself. Wins over Hermanson, Anderson Silva, and David Branch are the three that he's got really since dropping down to the middleweight division. Um, I, I I think Whitaker is just too good. Um, I really think he's just. I think we lost a little bit of that, and I'm guilty as anybody. Um, After the Adesanya knockout of him, I was probably one of the first to kind of go, okay, maybe he's not as good as I thought he
Hmm.
was. I was super impressed with his fight with Till. I think I recall you not being as impressed as I was with that fight, but that's just how it happens. when watching the fights. I think he's just going to outclass Cannonier. I don't know if I see Jared as a world champion fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, I don't. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I just think when you start fighting this caliber of fighters over and over again, you eventually lose, and it's just the top of the cream that rises. So I'm going to go with Whitaker. A 3-round fight, I got to go decision. I don't think there's a finish in a 3-round fight. In a 5-round fight, I might go with Whitaker by late decision after gassing out Cannonier.
Well, this is going to be the first one we disagree on. I actually, first of all, if we lose a fight, I think it's going to be this one. Just because of Robert Whitaker's history and with everything going on, I feel like something funny will happen between weigh-ins and or weigh-ins Thursday night or however the timing is for this one. By the time Saturday morning comes, we might be waking up to some weird news. But so that I just feel like because it's a 3-round fight, it does favor Cannonier, and I just feel like he's got the. I've seen him do some surprising KOs in the past, and I honestly feel like Adesanya said he wants his next fight to be against Cannonier. I believe he said that if Cannonier gets past Whitaker, that's who has the next 185 shot, and I feel like there's a reason he's saying that because he sees it happening himself, and of course I'm going to trust the outlook of somebody that's a superior striker in the sport of MMA, coming from the world of striking that he comes from. There must be something that he sees there that makes him feel like that's going to be the next title shot. So I'm going to go Cannonier on that one.
It'll be interesting. It's a good fight. I thought about leaning the same way, but I just, after looking into it and really delving into that fight, I think Whitaker. Like I said, I downplayed him after his loss, and maybe I'm doing that with Cannonier, considering I've seen him lose upper divisions that have no relevance to the middleweight, and all he's ever done at middleweight is dominate. So perhaps it's you might be right on this one, but I hope that fight doesn't fall through. That fight needs to stay on this card. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we start looking at a pretty thin main card, if we're being honest about it.
Paul Baca agrees with you. He thinks, I guess he likes Bobby Knuckles in that fight too.
Yeah. Let me see real quick. Curious what the odds were on that fight. That would I would think it would be fairly even.
It's going to be one of those ones where they're not too far apart. I feel.
No, it's even. They got it looks like Cannonier's a slight favorite, -120 over -105 Whitaker. So essentially even fight. The house will win on that fight, no matter what happens, basically. So that's that. The main event now, the fight that we've been talking about for months, the fight you've been looking forward to, especially, I know, through all this fight world, fight island, COVID craziness. Habib Nurmagomedov, Justin Gaethje. I think I said it when we first started doing this podcast about the time Nurmagomedov started dominating the world of MMA. I will never pick against him. I think he's one of the most talented, if not the most talented fighter I have ever witnessed in person. At least the most dominant fighter I've ever witnessed in person. I think he ragdolls Gaethje. I think at the end of the first round, it'll be the typical 75 strikes to 4 for Nurmagomedov. I think he frustrates Gaethje, and I think he finishes Justin Gaethje halfway through the fight. Early mid third round, we'll say. I think he figures out a way to either submit him, or by that point, I think he's frustrated to the point that ground and pound is landing. Gaethje winning would be epic. I mean, don't get me wrong, the world would explode if he wins, but as much as I love both these guys. These guys are like, this is a fight I'd pay to watch. I'd pay to watch this fight every night of the week. Yeah. I'd lose every other subscription and every other bill I have, and I'd pay for this fight every single night of the week if they fought 7 nights a week. But I got to go with Habib. I simply can't pick against the guy. I just can't do it. He's 28 now. I can't do it.
Well, I can because
I'm sure, and you will.
Yeah, Only because I know I've probably said on the podcast before. I know I've told you in conversation before. I've been watching Justin Gaethje. I saw him climb up World Series of Fighting, win the title there. Watching him come to the UFC, get every single fight, get a bonus, win or lose. And I think never mind his wrestling background, that might be a great tool against someone like Khabib. Um, the Ferguson fight really showed a super evolved Justin Gaethje, especially when it comes to striking, which in the past folks have said has been the chink in Khabib's armor, that he hasn't really fought anyone that's been able to capitalize. I mean, like if you look back at, I forget the event number, when they were in Barclays when he fought Al Iaquinta last minute notice. Iaquinta landed some shots there, even though he lost, and he lost the decision. He didn't get finished. Um, so with Gaethje, I want to say is probably a better wrestler than Iaquinta is, and everything he's been doing. I think he's got an edge in the striking, that he might touch Khabib up enough to hurt him or cut him or something. Um, the first round is going to tell us the first round of this fight is going to tell us who's right or wrong. As far as our predictions go, only because, like you said, if Khabib's going to ragdoll Gaethje, we're going to see that in the first round. But if Gaethje survives it, and the later rounds come, and maybe some fatigue is an issue or something like that, that's when we'll start to see Gaethje's weird barbarian mind kick in, and just kind of like that whole how he talked about how he wants every exchange to be a car crash where they just both take damage, and that's Gaethje's whole world. It's actually what makes him a scary opponent, at 155 for anyone that wants to fight him. So, and listen, he's only lost twice in the UFC, right? The two losses.
Mhm.
And uh, I've always bet money, and I've only lost money on Gaethje's always been the underdog every fight when I remember the odds, because I've always won money when I bet on him, with the exception of those two losses. But when he's won, I've always put a good amount of money on him, and it's always paid off well. So I'm not gonna break the stride. I mean, and if he loses, I know he's gonna put up a valiant effort, but I mean, I don't. If the first round's going to be telling, but either way, I'm not picking against Justin Gaethje. I think Justin Gaethje can do something to hinder Khabib's ferocity, as whether it be the leg kicks from hell, or just dragging him, making him fatigue and starting to fire away, kind of the way he finished Ferguson, because Ferguson didn't drop. It was like the ref that came in and stopped it because of all the damage. I can see something like that happening. Um, you know, yeah, the first round's going to be very telling of where the rest of the fight goes. But uh, I'm not going to be surprised, obviously, if Khabib wins, but I'm not going to pick against Gaethje.
No, I think you're right. I think you nailed it on the first round. Really telling the story. I think it's a little bit more than just Gagey surviving. I feel like he has to actually do some damage in that first round while they're both fresh fighters,
Hmm.
because I think that's what can turn the tide for Gagey. I don't think it can just be like, okay, I avoided his takedown. Now,
Yeah,
I think he has to actually land some. I think he has to put some fear in Habib's mind, or at least damage the body, um, going into that second round. I think if just a survival without any damage, I think doesn't throw Nurmagomedov off his game, and I think eventually he still continues to land takedowns. Whereas again, like you said, if he lands those kicks, if he's able to maybe cut
kicks,
Nurmagomedov,
elbows, yeah.
yeah, I mean, all he has to do is slice him with something. As again, Nurmagomedov hasn't been in a situation where he's had to taste his own blood a lot. I can't think of a single case, at least off the top of my head, in the UFC. Perhaps he did in some of his earlier fights, 10 years ago. But again, once the one thing with Gagey is that he's been to hell and back, where a lot of these fighters haven't. He's been to hell and he's come back and win fights.
Hmm.
So that could be something. It's easy to be the front runner when you're dominating. It's different when your heart has to kick in and you gotta come back from the brink of defeat. So we'll see how it unfolds. I just again I just to me, Khabib has always been just a special talent. That doesn't mean Gaethje's maybe not a better fighter, but as far as just pure talent and what I've witnessed from
Yeah.
cage side at fights, I've never seen anything like it. And that goes for Fedor and everybody. Just the pure
No.
talent, just the pure talent and the ability to control his opponents is something I've never seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically the equivalent of like Mark Coleman in the early UFCs when he was fighting guys who had no idea. That's what he
But
makes it look like, and that's what's crazy about it because he's actually
mhm.
fighting guys. You know, as much as we dog on Conor McGregor, I mean, Conor McGregor is he's got a good takedown. I mean, he does it. He defends it against everybody else essentially, except except Khabib. You know, so it's just amazing what he does to other world class
Yeah.
level fighters. But God, man, I hope it's a great fight. If
Yeah.
you know, let's avoid any kind of low blow bullshit. Let's avoid any kind of doctor stoppage from a
Yeah.
cut.
I pokes any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
And I don't know how
let's hope Herb Dean's working a Cage Warriors event or something that weekend. But
I don't
yeah,
know how accurate these numbers are with the significant strikes, but I mean, when you look at the, I mean, if Gaethje does land this much more than Khabib with the damage that he does when he strikes, I mean, there's a good chance he could hurt him. You know what I mean? So, like you said, we haven't seen Khabib really hurt in the past. But you know, I mean, I'm also somebody that likes to root for the underdogs, not just because of betting purposes and stuff. It makes, like you said, it's epic. It makes for a nice story.
yeah, no, it's the Rocky story. I mean, this is the Rock. This is as Rocky story of you can get in MMA, really. I mean, other than the fact that Rocky was just pretty very much a journeyman bum who got a title
Mm,
shot, and you know, but whereas this is not that case so much. But when Gagey came to the UFC, he had the spectacular fight with Michael Johnson. Then he had two setbacks where everybody kind of said, "Look, see, he's not that good. He was minor league champion, and now."
I never thought that. I always
Oh
thought
no
he
no
was
no!
just,
I didn't think that either, but that's what the consensus. I would say that's fair to say the consensus, quote unquote, MMA fan believed that,
mm.
and that's just how it is. I mean, half the MMA media started believing that, um, you know, and that's their fault, I think.
And one thing we have to remember is I mean, like you said, we don't. This is the fight that we don't want to lose. But if one of these men should happen to get a positive COVID test or what have you, Michael Chandler is there waiting in the wings, and we'll still get kind of a great fight. Michael Chandler versus either of these guys, but it's obviously, like you said, it's not the 7 days a week. We'll watch it. You know, this is I'm you know Dana White was saying that Adesanya Costa was supposed to be fight of the year, and I've been saying since we've been talking about it, I think this is going to be fight of the year, um, especially since we're coming to the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's going to be, it's going to be this. I think it's going to be a different kind of fight of the year, though. I think if this one is, it's going to be Gagey coming back from the brink of defeat. I just
Mm.
that's how I feel like it would unfold for this to create that buzz for a fight of the year. I think it has to be dominating early, doing his thing, but not able to finish, and then Gagey landing a big punch like in the middle of the fight and swaying the momentum. I mean, I
Mm.
feel like that's kind of how it has to go. Um,
Yeah, he's got to take damage before he.
yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
this is. There's no matter the winner of this fight is still going to have damage done to him. I feel like there's going to be punches thrown. And Jake Sage, hoping everybody he
All of
makes
us,
it
Jake.
healthy.
All of us.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and since Jake, you're coming over to watch the fight, you can feel free to bring the Red Bull and vodka over on Saturday morning. Uh, I think actually Paul might be joining as well, but we'll have to see what goes on here at the pad here for the fights. But yeah, a great fight. Um, I, I again, like everybody's saying right now, hopefully it happens. Hopefully there's no weight cutting issues. Hopefully nobody's drained. Hopefully we get the two best. We get the best Justin Gagey, and we get the best Habib Nurmagomedov that they're capable of bringing to the cage, and it delivers a fight that um, us fight fans deserve. We've been waiting for this one. We watch a lot of fights,
Oh my
to
God.
for
Yeah.
one like this to happen. You know what I mean? Like this is the pinnacle of it for a fight fan. So it just they don't always deliver, but God, I hope this one does because it'll be something to talk about for a long time to come. So that pretty much wraps us up for this show. Again, stay tuned for on the audio version of the podcast for Ed's interview with Josh Palmer, announcer for Karate Combat and several other MMA organizations across the planet. Always check us out at allaccessmma.com. You can see the video portion of our podcast there on a weekly basis. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MMAHawk21. Follow Edit Carbazal on Twitter, Carbeerzal on Instagram, Old Head Carb on Twitch. And again, thanks to everybody that listens to the show and supports the show. We really appreciate all the clicks and views. So let's wish everybody a great weekend, healthy weekend, and let's all get to the fights.
My Just Bleed face.
It's there. It's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just wishing everybody a healthy rest of the week. Let's get to this fight and let's give everybody the let's hope that the UFC gives the fans what we've been clamoring for on this one. So
I'll throw myself out the window if something happens that we don't get this. But
all right, Ed,
all right,
have a
cool.
good rest of the week, brother, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes, sir.